Welcome, people. Sorry, Karina and I are just chatting about how chilly it was this morning. I went for a morning walk. It's only a new thing. It's part of my new normal that I'm trying to embrace. But I'll introduce myself. I'm Jacqui Steffen. I'm the Relationship Manager at the College of Law. I am a qualified lawyer. My background is in insurance, and I worked firstly at a private law firm in private practice in insurance, mostly professional indemnity, only a little bit of injury, and then moved in-house role for 10 years. So I've recently stepped out of the very commercial space. So that's been a lovely change into the College of Law, and I get to, part of my job is to speak to law students and explain our PLT program. I am joined today by Karina. Karina is one of our lecturers. I will let Karina introduce herself and then we'll get started with the presentation.
Hi everybody, so my name is Karina Roccatelli. I'm one of the lecturers at the college. So I've been with the college for just over a year now. I started off myself in commercial practice. It wasn't for me, unlike Jacqui, and so I moved into community law, and Victoria Legal Aid is where I was for about 8 years before I came to the college. I was practicing in what is called civil, what we call our civil programs. So that's really sort of the human rightsy area, a lot of tribunal work, magistrates court work and the like, a varied practice. And that really is the case for all of the lecturers at the college. We have a lot of varied backgrounds and a lot of experience across all of us in many areas of law.
Excellent. Thank you, Karina. I will just share my screen now and get the presentation going. Beginning, here we go. That's good. So welcome everyone. For those of us that have just joined us, my name's Jacqui Steffen. I'm the Relationship Manager at the College of Law. I've got Karina with me today, and Karina's one of our lecturers. What we'll do is there's a Q&A box, so feel free to put in your questions and Karina and I will answer them at the end. Happy to answer any questions at all, so any queries you have, and if we can't answer them, we'll certainly find the answer for you. So thank you for joining us today. I hope you're all warm, sunny, but very, very chilly in Melbourne today. So here we go. Entirely online. Our course is now entirely online because of COVID-19. Ordinarily, our course has a skills week at the start of the coursework, and we've now had to move that program to a fully online program that Karina will touch on when she talks about the coursework. So thankfully, our content people have been working very hard to move the program into a online deliverable format so that we don't have to have any face-to-face component, and we can meet the restrictions because of COVID. So that's happened since the 23rd of March. It's been quite successful. I think students have really enjoyed the opportunity to do it online. So hopefully, fingers crossed, it might be something that we can propose to the admissions board, who really determines the format of the programs that we run. It's not necessarily up to us, it's up to the approval of the board, whether or not we can deliver a fully online program or a program with the face-to-face component. But at present, fully online. So this is your career pathway for those that perhaps are a little bit uncertain as to what PLT is and where it fits in. So you are clearly at the start, or the top left circle, your academic law degree. You will then have to do your PLT, and then you have to meet the requirements of a fit and proper person, And then on that fantastic day, you are admitted as an Australian lawyer. Good to know at the moment, the courts have also moved to a process whereby you are admitted on the papers. So, which is fabulous. So law students are not delayed in being admitted to practice. And where normally that would be held in the Supreme Court, it's rather an official process. You have a lawyer who moves your admission. And that's a really exciting day. It's really the day that you've worked towards. So, and it's really exciting. It's exciting for our lecturers who sometimes move their students, PLT students' admission. And you know, it's a day worth celebrating. Normally, you know, you might have a lunch or something exciting after your admission. I still remember my day. It was awesome. And then you can move into a legal practitioner, a barrister, or other roles. And there's many varied roles. I explained at the start that my background has been in insurance. So I spent 10 years in an in-house role. We were all qualified lawyers. I would never in law school have known anything about insurance law and that there were thousands of jobs in insurance, but that is just perhaps an example of the myriad of roles that are available outside of the traditional legal practitioner or barrister. So what is PLT? PLT really builds on your academic training. So we like to think it's actually putting the law into practice. You have a bag of skills, a bag of knowledge that you've learned from uni, and now we want to show you how to apply it, give you the skills to apply it. We really are about making sure you have the confidence so that when you leave our program, you can take the next step in whatever shape that looks like, but so that you can take the next step and confidently be able to practice or apply the law that you've learnt at uni. It is compulsory. It is a requirement for admission in all Australian states. As I said, the board really dictates what the program looks like. So they have compulsory aspects to the program, and the board also, they administer your admission. So they will, you put together your paperwork, and they kind of tick the boxes as to whether you can then be admitted to practice. If you have any questions about qualifications for admission, you can look at the website. That's Victorian Legal Admission Board website. But PLT prepares you for practice. When I finished my law degree, I did articles, which was at a law firm. I didn't do PLT, and I see what the program is now. And I really see it as a bit of a shame that I didn't do PLT. I certainly didn't learn and didn't have the confidence, that sort of bridging exercise, program between uni and private practice. So to some extent, I was thrown completely in the deep end. And that's really challenging. I mean, I survived, but with a few dints along the way, I think. But yeah, it's not just essential, but it's really integral to your development of your legal skills and knowledge, and learning how to apply it. It is the start of your legal career, and it's not just a tick box exercise. If we've got one sort of advice today, it's that you really try and wring out as much knowledge and practical experience from the course that you can, because that will put you in the best position for when you take that next step in your career. So there's 3 components to our PLT course. The first one is the coursework, which Karina's going to walk you through shortly. Then the second component is the work experience. Now we've got a new alternative to the work experience, which we'll also be explaining for you. And that's really also been a development that we've introduced due to COVID-19. and some of the challenges that the current PLT students have had with obtaining work experience due to the restrictions. So we'll walk you through the new option we have available. And then the third component, which is the continuing professional education, we refer as CPE. And we'll go through each one separately. So when can you start the coursework? As long as you've completed your Priestley 11, which we can call the core subjects, and you have no more than 2 non-Priestley 11 subjects left. So as long as you have 2 electives remaining, you are able to start the PLT. Again, if you look at VLab website, they have a section on studying concurrently with your law degree. And in fact, when you start, you need approval for them if you haven't completed and graduated from uni. So really wise to check that website. They'll have some valuable information on VLab website. And as well, we have a lot of information on that the College of Law website, which you'll see down the bottom of the slides. The study options for the coursework. For full-time online, it's 15 weeks. Part-time, it's 30. We do have now this completely online coursework, and the study load is approximately, kind of depends on your study mode and I guess the effectiveness of it, but as an approximate guide, your study load's sort of full-time 30 to 35 hours and part-time 15 to 20 hours. And I shall hand over to Karina to walk you through the coursework. Just yell, Karina, if you want to go back to those slides or anything.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So like Jacqui, I also didn't have an opportunity to do PLT. I was one of the last to go through the old articles program, but there is huge value in the PLT program. You get to do tasks that are true to practice and make all the mistakes you like, and we will provide feedback in a very safe environment. As I mentioned, all of your lecturers have a great deal of knowledge and experience across a wide range of practice areas, and that's what we bring when we provide feedback and take you through each of the subjects, so that you have confidence when you do enter the legal profession to provide competent professional services, which is what your conduct rules require. So in order to complete PLT, you do need to undertake all of those compulsory subjects there on the left. We start off with our Lawyers Skills Week, which is the initial 5 days. If you have done negotiation at university, you can receive advanced standing for that, and you won't have to complete most of the last day, which is our negotiation workshop. So it could be essentially 4 days that you complete, or 5 days with negotiation at the end. And that's a very practical workshop. It is interactive, even though it's online, or if we go back to face-to-face, it's not, I suppose, like it is at uni, where you sit there and listen to your lecturer delivering a sometimes dry, as I remember, lectures. It's very much getting you to think through how it would be in practice. We cover things like writing and drafting, what are your ethical obligations, problem solving. You have a 2-day advocacy workshop, which is loads of fun. Even if the thought of getting up on your feet terrifies you, the lecturers that take advocacy, everybody walks out saying that they've had a load of fun and a fantastic experience doing that. So it is also an opportunity to get to know your course lecturer in more depth, and also the cohort that you'll be working with throughout the remainder of your PLT. You then move through to ethics and professional responsibility. This is probably the most essential subject that you do in PLT, and there's a component of it in every subsequent subject thereafter, and that's because it really is a major focus to make sure that you're across all of your ethical and professional responsibilities. So As lecturers, we see ourselves more as mentors, if you like, helping to guide you through your PLT, making sure that you have the confidence then to enter into practice and that you'll have a fulfilling legal career and are well across all of your ethical and professional responsibilities, so you won't get yourself into hot water. You then move on to civil litigation, where again, it's all of the subjects are practical. Civil litigation, you're drafting court documents, so you're handling matters from the start to their conclusion. In your final oral assessment, you'll be doing an oral submission for an interlocutory application, which you filed papers for already. Next up is property practice. Again, very practical. Essentially, you are looking at contracts of sale, drafting letters of advice, also working through a settlement using the PEXA online platform. Next is commercial and corporate practice, where you look at everything from contracts, lease documents, and the like. Again, letters of advice, memos, file notes, and there's a whole lot of interactive materials that you use. We have resources available online from our practice papers, which are drafted by our lecturers, including what we call adjunct lecturers as well, who may be part-time lecturers who may be practicing as barristers, specialists in the field. So all of our materials that we provide you are very much current, very much there to support you through each of those subjects. You then get to choose 2 elective subjects, which you'll see there on your right. They're all great. Often, you know, I get questions from students about which elective should I choose? Which one do you think is the best? They're all, you know, really worthwhile electives. It's an opportunity to try out something perhaps that you've never tried before, or if you're about to enter or have an interest in entering a particular area of law, to really bed down and learn some new skills in that area. So that's, yeah, everything I think on the subjects there. So this is a bit of a snapshot of what it looks like to do our online skills week. So ordinarily we would have been in the classroom, but this is our virtual classroom here. So you would be surprised how an online workshop like this can be extraordinarily interactive, where we talk to each other. There's breakout room functions where we can put you into groups to conduct negotiations or work through a problem in pairs or groups of 4, and then to come back together as a group. So we do our very best to make sure that you find it engaging, because it is a long week of workshops, and so as lecturers we really want to make sure that you get the most out of it, so that at the end of the day that's knowledge that you can retain and put into practice in the rest of your subjects going forward. So the platform that we use for all of our work in PLT is called Canvas, and this is a screen of what the Canvas platform looks like. So here you'll see this is the civil litigation subject, your first task that you have to complete, and it's all very much set out like this. You'll have a course timetable which dictates when your activities are all due, and every activity that you have is clearly set out. There are links that you can work through for each activity that you need to complete to tick off on that task. When you click on those activity links, you'll see that there are instructions, often from your supervising lawyer, and it will tell you what is expected or where the matter is at. There'll be documents from your client or court documents or other materials that you'll need to look through, contracts of sale, etc. And then there's also essential resources, which I touched on briefly before, where we have your practice papers that pretty much contain all the information that you need, and some other links to useful documents. So all of the information, whether it be precedent documents to help you to draft a letter of advice, they are all there in the resources, so you don't have to do too much external research as you go through. Then you submit, and this is an example of a document that someone has written up, so a letter of advice here, that's submitted on the Canvas platform. It's a very simple platform to get your head around, and then your lecturer will provide individual feedback on each of your submissions. So here you can see that Jim McInerney, the lecturer here, has provided some feedback, and that's the form that it will take. we very much focus on not only the content in terms of the law, but also on making sure that your letters are up to a professional standard, or whatever documents you're filing in court, or memos that you're providing, that they are up to what would be expected in practice. So the standard we need to get you up to is that of an entry-level lawyer, and all of your activities there are marked competent or not competent. So you don't have to feel like it's a pass and fail situation. Not at all. We are trying to make sure that you get you up to that standard of an entry-level lawyer, again, so that you have confidence when you do enter the legal profession. And here again, if it's not quite up to standard, we might ask you to resubmit some of your work, but again, we will provide you detailed feedback to help you through that process. So your lecturers are there to support you, as I mentioned, through everything that you're doing. If you are making an oral submission, for example, you'll have resources available there with examples of how to do it. So very straightforward when it comes to preparing for your advocacy or any other materials. We've got interactive examples online in those resources to help you through. And this is an example of a course timetable. So here you can see you start off in blue with that Lawyers Skills Week, and then you have submissions that are due, and how frequently your activities are required to be submitted will depend on it, whether you're in the full-time course or the part-time course, of course. But it is very much a workable timetable. So we are conscious that often people are either working or studying at the same time, looking for jobs, have family commitments. We certainly do understand that. And so if for any reason you're struggling to keep up with the timetable, from time to time that certainly does happen, there is no issue to seek an extension. It's very much, we try to operate as if it would be in practice, where you would go to a supervisor and explain that you haven't been able to complete the task because it's bigger than you thought, or whatever the case may be, rather than the very strict university, it must be submitted by this deadline or else you'll start losing marks. Not at all. We are there to make sure you get through, and if it means coming up with an alternative timetable to fit your needs, we'll do that. And the last part of that, I might just check what's on the next slide. I think it's there. Yes, it is. So after you've finished your activities, as you can see here, it's all practical activities that you're submitting. The last part of everything is to do your oral assessment for each subject. And that, I know that often puts people off. People think, oh no, oral assessment, that sounds terrifying, but it's exactly the opposite. It's a discussion with your course lecturer, going through each of the activities that you've done. So once you've completed those activities, and we won't let you move on to the next one till you've got it up to that competent standard of an entry-level lawyer. So once you've done all of that, the oral assessment is all based on that activity work. And so it is just talking it through, and it really, after people do their first one, they realise, oh my goodness, that was actually very straightforward. A lot of people even say they enjoy it. So hopefully that will be you too.
Awesome. Thank you, Karina. I will add that with the Skills Week, it is largely a 9 to 5 commitment. So whether that is the Skills Week face-to-face, or as is currently the position online, you do need to take, say if you're working, you do need to take that time off work, because you do need to be actively present. You do need to be in your Zoom group, and certainly available and participating and joining in the negotiations or the advocacy, as Karina said, because it's not something that you can do after hours for the Skills Week. The Skills Week, you have to be actively present, engaged and participating approximately that 9 to 5. So after that, it is very much as per the timetable, online learning. We realise a lot of people work, so it tends to be people are studying around work, after hours, etc., weekends. That's perfectly fine. It's just that the first 5 days, that Skills Week, that you need to be sort of have to take the time off work so you can participate. Otherwise, at your sort of own progress to some extent. So I just wanted to mention that about Skills Week. And as Karina said, you know, the oral assessments, it is more like a discussion. I mean, you know, if I had Karina as my oral assessor, I mean, it would be a lovely discussion. So please don't feel daunted by that. All of our students compliment. Normally the feedback at the end of the course is how lovely our lecturers are. And they're all got experience. They've either practiced or are currently practicing and working part-time at the college as a lecturer. So they've all got experience. They all know that students are nervous or can be nervous. They're really there to make sure that you're feeling comfortable, that you're not too stressed. And that's really the lovely part of having that, what starts as a chat and continues on. I mean, you're sort of discussing your knowledge, but in a very friendly way, I guess is how to put it. Karina's nodding, so that's good. Now, the second component, work experience. So there's, outside of COVID, there's two formats. There is the short format, which is 15 days of work experience plus the clinical experience module, CEM. And Karina teaches that as well. So if you have questions about the CEM, feel free to shoot us a question at the end. The standard is 75 days of work experience. Now, I'll go back into the detail about work experience, but just to give you this some detail about the third option, we've now introduced what we've called the in-practice component, so the IPC. This is new, and it is a completely whole alternative to work experience. And we really had to introduce it because of current PLT students finding it difficult to really being able to undertake any work experience due to the COVID-19 restrictions. It is a complete alternative, as I said, and the IPC it's largely an online program. It's for 8 weeks after the coursework, and it includes 3 mentoring sessions with the current legal practitioner, which is fantastic. So we've actually recruited legal practitioners, some barristers, to be appointed as mentors. So if you choose this component, you will have 3 sessions with your mentor. The sessions are really to discuss scenarios that come up in legal practice. You write about your proposed reflection or action in relation to the ethical dilemma, and then you might discuss that in the mentoring sessions. It's great to have a mentor. I mean, at any stage of your career, really should try and have a mentor. So this is really just formalising that process. You don't have to find the mentor. We have the mentors. They are structured, and you certainly don't need work experience for this component. So it is a whole alternative, and it is about undertaking activities related to the real world of practice, and it is online. So to take a step back and go back to the work experience, what counts for work experience? It really has to be a part of the delivery of legal services. So clerkships, paralegal work, voluntary work, placements with some of your subjects perhaps. It does have to be within the last 2 years of your degree. It can be in tax legal divisions of chartered accountants, assisting barristers in chambers, judges associate, government policy and planning. There's a range of options there. that you can hopefully sort of work towards in the last 2 years of your degree. There are options where to find it on our college notice board. We've got a jobs notice board, social justice opportunities website, pro bono website, Justice Connect, the National Association of CLCs. One thing I would highly recommend is to really try and get as much exposure as you can, even if it's perhaps in an area that I think Karina said before, even if it's an area that you don't think is where you want to work, it's really useful to have exposure to that area, because then you know, no, that's definitely not for me, or yeah, surprisingly, that is for me. I know for me, I did a placement at Legal Aid as part of one of my uni subjects, and I really struggled with it, even though I had originally thought that this was where I was going to end up. I was frustrated by the system. I was frustrated by the process. And for me, I wanted to see a much bigger picture. I wanted to have much more of an impact rather than just, you know, a transactional basis. So that was a really good experience for me. I did a clerkship at Pilch. I'm not sure if they have clerkships there now. This is talking some years back. I feel like a dinosaur. I did voluntary work at a community legal centre. I know Karina's done the same. So, and I did some part-time work, casual work for a barrister. So really important. Another piece of advice is really build your network. Follow us on LinkedIn, follow the college, find us on LinkedIn. I'm more than happy for any law student to touch base with me and get connected on LinkedIn. We're connected with a range of law firms, organisations, and this is really how you start building your network. The other part of this is that our lecturers are practicing or have practiced previously, have a wealth of knowledge. Some of them are considered experts in their area. So you really want to be, you know, advertising almost on your LinkedIn profile that you've, you know, studied this subject with this lecturer to really stand out. So don't hesitate to certainly build on that network, and that's often how you find out about opportunities that are available. It's the hidden job network. The good news with work experience is that you can be approved for up to 60 days work experience while you're studying your law degree. That's for the work that you've done in the last 2 years. Anything prior than that is really perhaps considered a little bit too old for the purposes of the work experience. So you can accrue 60 days in the last 2 years of your degree, and you can have that pre-approved even prior to starting your PLT. So on our website there is the handbook, PLT handbook. We can highly recommend you download that handbook. At the back of the handbook there's actually the application for approval form. You complete the approval form and the declaration, and organise to have your supervisor sign off on it. It's really critical to have it signed off whilst you're there on your placement, because what happens, people move on, you haven't got it signed off, and then you've got to try and track them down to have the application form signed off. Very hard to do it retrospectively, or it can be difficult. So my suggestion would be try and do it at the time and make it so much more straightforward. And then you return it to the college for pre-approval. So that's like a little bit of a head start you can get if you choose that format. And then the third component is CPE. So that's just continuing on with your professional sort of education or experience. We have 10 units, and you can work towards a certificate of legal business skills. 10 units really equates to about 10 hours. There's some videos and some reflecting on some of the things like time and work management, leadership. I mean, really important things I wish I had have learned at the start before I commenced legal practice, and negotiating effective contract. These are really skills that will set you up for a really successful career. Understanding financial documents. I mean, you know, if I had have been told how to look at that at law school, I probably would have fallen asleep. So again, you'll have to look at them. So really useful information. So that's the CPE. Tips for fast tracking. As I said, secure some work experience in your final 2 years of study if you can. Register any previous work experience, fill out that form, complete it, have your supervisor complete it and send it to us for pre-approval. And then you can select the short work option should you wish to, work experience option. The fees for PLT, that's for Australian citizens or overseas international, Australian citizens, and then the second line, overseas international citizens. Then there's the fee for the CEM, and fee help is available for Australian citizens. All of this information is on our website, which is down at the bottom of the slides. It goes into a lot more detail, and as well, the handbook is a fabulous resource. 5 reasons for choosing the college. The study freedom. We have over 15 intakes throughout the year. There's full and part-time options. I think we'll almost end up with about close to 20 intakes this year, to be honest. We've had a lot of interest during COVID. I guess a lot of students perhaps were considering travelling or delaying their PLT, but there's a lot of interest. So we've been very busy. It is hands-on learning. As I think both Corinne and I have explained, this is really the practical component. This is how to be a lawyer. You've learnt the law, now you actually get to apply it and learn how to be a lawyer in a very supportive environment. So yes, this is where you can make mistakes, and they're not mistakes, they're just learning opportunities. It is aligned with the legal industry. As I said, either our lawyers, lecturers are lawyers, current lawyers. Some of our lecturers also work at the bar, so they're barristers. We have a wide range of experience, and that's fantastic. And certainly don't hesitate to ask any of our lecturers, for advice, assistance, grab an insight into their knowledge. We are very supportive. The lecturers will certainly try and accommodate you if you, along the way, things happen with life, it's a reality. And so they will certainly, at every step of the way, try and either get you back on track or work out a new arrangement for the timetable so that you can continue to progress with your PLT. And we're there to further your career at every stage. We have specialisation, we have a master's, we offer as well the legal practice management course for when you want to become a partner or a sole practitioner. That's down the track. Excitingly, we have regional courses. So we are offering a Geelong course commencing 20th of July 2020. We had hoped to be face-to-face. I'm not sure that the restrictions will have eased in order for us to offer it face-to-face. We're still hoping, but if not, it will be online. But otherwise, we are, for February 2021, we're offering courses in Bendigo, Traralgon and Geelong, assuming it is certainly face-to-face by that stage, February 2021. That's 15th of Feb. As I said, very flexible. I think we had close to 20 intakes for this year, start dates. We've added a few more, so that's why it's not 15. I think it's close to 18 or 19 at last count. I did check that this morning. We are also the largest provider of PLT in Australia, with campuses in every state as well as New Zealand. And we're also the preferred provider to the top 9 of the top 10 law firms. So we work with the law firms in providing PLT to their employees, so their graduates that are going through a year of supervised legal training, and we work very closely with those firms we call co-ops, and we really value and respect those relationships that we have. These are the intake dates, course start dates. So we're already marching through the year. We've got some dates for later in the year, of course, when students have finished and graduated. So October, December dates are there. Lastly, before we go to answer some questions, I just want to let you know we've got Susan Pincus, who is our careers professional. She's had extensive experience in recruitment and working with at university with law students, and looks to assist you in building your employability. Susan and I work quite closely together, and we normally host a range of webinars at least once a month, sometimes bi-monthly, on a range of topics that are really going to be useful for you. So look at our website, look at the events page, or look at your Law Student Society, because we advertise on their socials. We've got some coming up. One in July, Susan's doing with Baker McKenzie on interviewing skills. I cannot recommend highly enough that you take the opportunity of gaining an insight from a HR person at these law firms. You may not be looking to do supervised legal training with them, but ultimately you may end up at a law firm eventually in one capacity or another. So I can't sort of recommend this enough. So it's a free webinars. They go for about an hour. Susan has a wealth of knowledge and insight, but particularly when she has, invites guests to join in the webinars. So definitely follow the events, and I strongly recommend you register for the webinars. So she goes through a range of things which she's already looked at: psychometric testing, job applications. Susan's got one in August on how to open doors, talking about this hidden job market. She's also already done the resume and cover letters, and later in the year we're going to look at alternative career paths as well. And so don't please hesitate to join us for any of those webinars. Again, these are some of the workshop topics, and Susan provides guidance to current PLT students. She will look at the resumes and CVs of the current PLT students and alumni, and assist them in making sure that they're sort of have got the application right, or sort of give her guidance or input in relation to interviewing. These are some of our graduates. We've got Bronwyn and Emma. They've gone on to have successful careers in their chosen area. And that's just my details that I've put up there. So you can contact me if you've got any queries. Happy to answer any questions at any stage. If you have got a question in relation to enrolling, you can go onto our website, and you can actually organise a one-on-one meeting or discussion with Stuart in our student services, and he will assist you in every step in the enrolment process. He is a wealth of knowledge. He's an enrolment expert, and he will be able to answer any of your questions. So don't hesitate. If you've got some questions about whether you can start PLT or whether you have got your pre-approval for some of your work experience, any question at all, go online, organise a time to chat with him or send him an email. So I'll just have a quick look. Will we be able to complete the in-practice component after hours? Yes, well, it is online. Ashley, thanks for your question. It is online. The mentoring, you'll have 3 mentoring sessions, and I guess that will be really at whatever time suits you and the mentor. So other than that, I can't see that, it'll be other than the mentoring type sessions. Yes, you'll be able to complete it after hours. It's not like the skills week of the coursework where you have to be available, 9 to 5 for that first 5 days. But otherwise, yes, it is definitely able to be completed after hours. I don't think so. I can dismiss that question. Feel free for any other questions. You're welcome to pick Karina's brain or mine. Happy to answer. I feel like I've zoomed through it today. Maybe I've had too many coffees. Did you have anything to add, Karina?
Perhaps just while we're waiting to sort of just touching on that last question, all of our course, except for that 1 week skills week, is all able to be completed at your own time. So, on the weekends or after hours, it is designed to be that way. In fact, the deadline that we set for submissions is always midnight, but that's, midnight. We expect it not necessarily to be in during work hours. So we are very cognizant that everybody has all other kinds of stuff going on. And this is the last hurdle to get through before admission.
Yeah, good point. So we've got another question. You mentioned the COL is aligned with the legal industry. Following completion of PLT, is the COL able to assist students with securing full-time work? Certainly Susan is able to assist in the application process, looking at your CVs. I mean, if you are finding you have, are struggling to get a job or struggling to have some interviews, she will look at your CV and maybe, tailor it perhaps to the area that you want to work in, or she might give you some feedback on things that, some things she would change within your CV. She'll also give you some suggestions of where to look. She'll often come to the lecturers or myself and ask about, other alternatives that she perhaps hasn't thought of. She's got a wealth of information. So we tend to, students normally have reasonable success getting jobs. We sort of, Susan's valuable in sort of making sure that your CV is tailored specifically for the jobs that you're going for. So she probably would, she probably changes it depending on what sort of job you're looking for. But she certainly, I know, for instance, she has certain views about, the way in which you, whether or not you talk about yourself in the first person, etc., in your CV, or, cutting out irrelevant information. So she really does tailor it so that it's perhaps a bit more eye-catching and will grab someone's attention. realistically, recruiters or HR can, there's some data about how quickly they flick through applications. So I guess concise and to the point is really what Susan, often recommends. So yes, Susan is able to assist, giving you some tips and tricks and information along the way.
There are a couple of more Q&A questions there.
Yes. So the first question, my understanding is, no, I think you do have to wait for your final results, don't you, Karina?
Yes, at least for all of your compulsory subjects. So if you do have those 2 electives left, you can apply, but yes, you do need to provide those results.
And there is a process. I mean, if you're wanting to study concurrently, or I guess even in that instance, start studying even though your marks have not been released, if you've got just the 2 electives left, you do need the support of your uni. So, something confirming whether it's a transcript that you only have the 2 non-Priestley 11s left. So the 2 electives, and then there is a process to go through. So certainly, Bianca, I would organise a time to speak with Stuart, because he will also give you tips on how to streamline that process. If we are applying for the July 2020, if we're applying for the July 2020 intake and 6 November, will we undertake the in-practice component after 6 November? Or will we undertake the component simultaneously?
So that would be after you've completed your PLT, unless you're undertaking it part-time, in which case, if you only have your 2 electives left, you can start it at that point in time. But if you are a full-time student, you do have to wait until you've completed the course for your PLT, so graduate diploma in legal practice, before starting the in-practice component.
Yes. Yeah. So it just depends whether that's the part-time or full-time, whether it's a 15 or 30 weeks. But yes, the IPC is after you finish the coursework. So feel free, I'll just dismiss those questions. I don't think, no other questions at this stage. Yeah, if you've got any queries at all, make sure you look at the website and download the handbook. There's also flyers on the website in relation to work experience. There's more detail in relation to the new in-practice component, IPC. There's a range of information if you're an overseas student. Again, feel free to email either student services or make a time to speak with Stuart, because they will be able to walk you through the process. It's a little bit different for overseas students, but that Stuart will be able to assist you in any of those more specific inquiries. Stuart has a detailed insight into your uni subjects and what will and won't be, considered for either pre-approval for work experience or any placement you've had during your uni subject. So he will be able to assist you with that. I don't think there's any more questions, so we might be able to wrap it up. Feel free to email me if you have any other questions. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope we've covered all sort of the range of PLT queries that you've had. But yes, please don't hesitate to contact us or contact me or download the handbook from the website, because that will be as well a wealth of information. Thank you, Karina, for joining me, and don't hesitate to drop us an email or connect with us on LinkedIn. Thanks, everyone.